What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video of our Doodle Enterprises Middle East series. Let me just make sure we are on the right recording. Alright, pretty sure we're good. Alright, let's load up some good old classic Doodle Empires. Oh, they have an update. Let's see what they did. Mediterranean and Caribbean map update. Alright. Middle East and Oceania. Okay, we're gonna have a better Oceania map. That's good. I have like 15 minutes to film this, so it's gonna be a pretty quick episode. This is episode number. If you can hurry up, episode 18. Alright, it's gonna be a pretty short one. I have like maybe 10ish minutes to make this, so this is gonna be a pretty quick video, but probably upload 2 videos on that day, honestly. Okay, so let's explain the events of the last episode. So, let's just say a lot of stuff happened. We saw the actually that might I don't even remember what we did last episode, to be honest. Oh right, we saw your triple kingdom do some funny bit. They did some funny business with all the rebellions over here. Let's just say Ethiopia is landlocked now. Persia no longer exists. They've unified with Caucasia, so Caucasia is probably the most powerful nation. Egypt has made up for their huge loss in their southern lands and got all this area back, so I would say it's a pretty good deal because this land is arguably more important to them than this. But anyways, let's get into it. By the turn 1350, hopefully. India Caucasians are founding a new religion. So you're probably asking yourself, why are they doing this? I don't know, but Taoism is no more. The oldest religion on this map, by far oldest religion, over 1,000 years old, I'm pretty sure, no longer exists. They're replacing it, and they are going to replace it with Anatolian Persian. So this new religion, wait, hold on, wait. Okay, Taoism still exists, guys, don't worry. As you can see, the 1,000-year-old religion still stands, but Caucasia will have a large expand, and let's see what they do. This Egyptian religion was mostly to promote unity, because remember they just unified with Persia, so they obviously want to make the Persians feel welcomed. Granted, the Persians are fans of this. They actually support this because they're really good friends with the Caucasian government. I mean, if you've seen the previous episodes, you know what I'm talking about. They're like best friends. Um, so the Caucasian will be expanding their old their lands along the Caspian Sea. So as you can see, they've expanded. So let's see what happens next. Okay, the Triple Kingdom have a medium expand, and alright. What they do is they will expand more into their central lands. This is mostly to just make their lands more unified and make their lands more stable. The Caucasians are huge at this point. They control parts of the Persian Gulf all the way up to the Caspian Sea, so they're doing really well for themselves. I don't think the Caucasians have ever been in this good of a position before. Let's see what happens next. Alright, Anatolia will have a build a castle, and they will build it right here. And this is mostly to just ensure that their flanks are protected just to be safe. Because, although these two are very good friends, the Anatolians are still worried about something happening to them because they've obviously been attacked I don't know how many times at this point. This is the fort map. As you can see, the two most militarized places under you are probably this entire strip, which is fortified all the way up from Anatolia all the way down to the Sinai. I'd say the second most fortified thing is probably Cyprus and Crete. They're also fortified. The point is, a lot of this land is heavily fortified. I'd say there's like at least 100 forts. The Southwest lands they'll adopt a religion. They'll finally become civilized, if you will, and finally will adopt Libyan Islam. So as you can see, tribalism no longer exists. The only 4 religions still standing are, we have Libyan Islam, we have the quadruple monarchy, we have Anatolian Persian, and then we have Taoism, which is the probably the last relic, if you will. I mean, this thing has existed since turn. Let's see, turn 50, turn 57, which is insane to think about. Caucasia has existed since turn number 55, I think. So Caucasia's the oldest country, but since the Persian unification, yeah, Caucasia's still the oldest. Southwest Lands is over a millennia old, but we'll see if the Ethiopians manage to unite with it. They probably will eventually. I don't know when now. But a new nation will form, and this new nation will form right over here. What happens is basically the Egyptian government decides, you know what? Let's give this Greek country independence because basically, so they had made a bunch of vassal states. Like they made a Crete vassal state, Cyprus vassal state. They invaded that though because they're like, well, we don't want them becoming independent. So they will decide, you know what? Let's give this Greek thing independence. And the reason they do this is because basically, they hope it will make their government more stable. And the reason why is because basically, remember, one thing that's important to mention is the Egyptians are quite a large country. Now, Caucasia is also large, but the thing about Caucasia that's different is that Caucasia is substantially more unified because they've controlled like this area for an insane amount. They've controlled this for a while. They're very friendly with this sect of land. This area isn't too friendly, but they're slowly but surely what's the word I'm trying to say? They're like slowly but surely assimilating them. So let's see what they get in the rebellions. The new Egyptian Greek state will build a castle right here. And I'm not giving these things names mostly because I just don't know what to name them at this point. I'm honestly just running out of ideas. Alright, we still have like 7 minutes. New nation. Egyptians will give yet another vassal independence. Crete. Crete's been an independent nation on and off in this series. I'd say they're independent like half the time and not independent the other half. Oh, that's actually pretty funny. Their leader is Mites. And further mentions in the next update for the Empire, we're going to see this new terrain map for the Middle East. The only map that has it is West Africa. So this map will be much more interesting. That or the map will. I just realized, what if that like ends the series? Because I might not be able to use the original map. I just realized that. I'm probably gonna have to probably ask that in the community hub. But anyways, Cyprus will be given independence. Egyptian Cyprus. If that happens, I'll probably just make a new map. Honestly, like I'll probably just make a new series. I was gonna do Europe, but that got extremely boring because a huge nation just took everything over. So I decided not to release it. So like, well, I'm not gonna waste my time. I got to episode 4. I was like, you know what? Stick with the Middle East. It's a good series. A lot of people. Well, a lot of people. I mean myself. I like recording it, so let's just stick with it. Alright, can Ethiopia... I don't want Ethiopia to unite with these guys, but that's probably not happening. But anyways, the Egyptians will... They're considered forming their Vath, and they're like, you know what? Let's not, because all this land, we just took it over. We turned into a vassal state, and then that could cause them to rebel, because... Remember, this land was taken over in a partition. If you haven't watched the previous 1 or 2 episodes, they do a major partition of the Turks. And this partition was pretty important because, well, you know, I mean, Turkey is now split into 4 different things now. But this new nation, now the Caucasians are stable enough in which nothing happens. The quadruple kingdom is, I mean, this thing is basically an Arabian Empire, a Red Sea Empire, I should say. The only thing that could happen is Egypt, but Egypt is quite stable. Up to like, I'd say all this land is like 100% stable. This land not so much, but the Egyptian military could put it down. However, the Turks, these guys, the Absolute Kingdom, they will fund a rebellion right here because they want to unite with this land because they don't want to form their own Turkish government, and they're slowly but surely doing it. There was a second group over here. They unified with them. And yeah, we're gonna have this new thing. This will be known as South. I didn't get an opportunity to name it. I meant to name it Southwest Turkey. I'll do that. Give me a moment. Alright, let me just rename this thing real quick. Just give me a second. Southwest Turkey. So like 4 minutes. The Absolute Kingdom will unify with them. This definitely isn't suspicious, by the way. But anyways, the Absolute Kingdom will then proceed. They successfully unite with Crete. They then proceed to unite with Greece. And then we'll get a small expand. And the reason this happens is because basically these guys realize, well, Egypt didn't give us independence, and they've realized that, you know what, if we're part of this new Turkish country, maybe we'll be better off. So they decide, you know what, let's unite with them, and then Cyprus unites with them, and Egypt is at this point very worried because so basically if you haven't watched the initial parts of the series, there was a major power called the Cypresians, and they were like the superpower until they got obliterated in several wars. Like there was like a whole coalition war fight against them like twice, I think, and it didn't end well for them. They got obliterated. Which, I mean, to give an example, the Turks, the Yemeni government, they're like a predecessor to Egypt. The Triple Kingdom, I think they fought in that war. I don't know. I'm gonna have to rewatch that. They all fought, and it didn't end well for the Cypresians. They lost twice. But anyways, let's get back to it. A new nation will form, and I figured I'd mention this, but the Egyptians have this area on lockdown. They're never letting this to become independent. Trust me, they don't want that. No one wants them to become independent. Even the Caucasians who really want to fight the Egyptians, even they don't want them to become independent. The Quadruple Kingdom, I mean, they wouldn't mind getting some Egyptian land, but even they don't want this to become independent. The Turk, they want Egyptian land. They don't care. They don't want this thing to be independent at all. And Albania, they mostly just want Greece, pretty much. But anyways, no new nation will form. This is because pretty much no one wants anything to happen. But in the meantime, the Absolute Kingdom will have a alright. So what happens is the Absolute Kingdom will do yet another thing, and this is called funding yet another rebellion. So if you're asking yourself, hey, who's funding these guys? I think the answer should be fairly obvious. It may or may not be these two. They're definitely not. They're definitely not giving them money or anything. These two definitely aren't funding them. Definitely not happening, guys. Anyways, the Southern Turks will form up, and trust me, these two really do not want Egypt to get more powerful. They are really worried about Egypt. Because Egypt was basically crippled, well, to an extent they were, on the loss of their southern territories. And then, these guys are able to fund yet another rebellion. If you can tell, they really like funding rebellions. They really like to do that. Aha, we're on funny turn number. We're on leet. We're on leet. So this is a good day. I thought this is the episode we get to turn 1337. Alright, I think I'll probably get up to here. Alright, let's see. Let's go up to turn 1340 for now. I get a new leader. I'm gonna speed for these turns, mostly because I'm running out of time to record this. And honestly, I honestly would just, not record this, but it'd be kind of weird if I skip over all this. So yeah, the Absolute Kingdom will continue marching on. It successfully unite with the Southern Turks, and they are getting closer and closer to reforming the Turkish nation. They unite with the Southeastern Turks. They get yet another new leader named David, and under his leadership, they will successfully take over the rest of Cyprus, and they will start marching into the remainder of Egyptian Turkey. Now, Egypt is pretty worried about this. So what does Egypt do? Well, the answer is quite simple. They will basically tell their allies, who are, okay, that's my timer, the Triple Kingdom and the Albanians, that hey, can you guys please stop these two? And they're like, well, we don't want to spark a war. And the government is like, come on, They're like, we don't want to spark a war again. So the Egyptian government will angrily be like, okay, you know what? Now the Egyptian government doesn't want to dissolve this alliance because um it would not be fun if they fight them. It would not be a fun day if they get attacked by these four, because they could crush Egypt easily. Oh yeah, and the Ethiopians, they would join too. They want this Nile land. The southwestern lands, they also wouldn't mind, but they probably won't be able to get any of it. So, yeah, no one comes to Egypt. Egypt is very angry, which I don't blame them. I would be angry too if this happened. They make a fort here, and then the Absolute Kingdom will continue to. Alright. The Absolute Kingdom's tanks will roll in. They will successfully take over this small piece of land. At this point, the Egyptians are so like, you know how nations have like a DEF CON, if you will. The Egyptians, they're getting close to the level where it's not looking good for us. Now, the one good thing Egypt has is that all this land is stable up to like this point, so they can probably retain this, but losing southern Turkey is quite a big blow. But we'll have to turn 1350. I have enough time to. So let's finish this up. You will get a medium expand. The Absolute Kingdom's tanks will continue to march on. And no one is stopping them. The Caucasians, well, obviously they're funding them, as I mentioned. I want to make it settle. It's like, you know what? I shouldn't make it settle because my storytelling is pretty bad. So, plus this episode, if the series ends randomly, which it might, because the new map changes, I don't want to end it on, like, a cliffhanger. Because that would be annoying. Because I know people get annoyed, like, a show they like ends on a cliffhanger. Which I don't want to do that to you guys, so. And they successfully take over all the claims they want. And they also will take over some minor territories. They basically say, hey, Albania, we want some Greek islands. Albania is like, why should we give them to you? And they're like, well, if you give us these islands, we will give you a lot of money. They're like, you know what? We want money. Because who doesn't love money? So the Albanians are like, you know what? Sure, we'll give you these territories, but in exchange, you're not to attack us. And they also say, can you, So they initially are worried, then they're like, you know what? Now they're worried that Egypt, right? So basically the Albanians are worried about Egypt now. Because the reason why is because basically, so Egypt is, they're worried about Egypt, like, attacking them. Now they're in alliance, but Egypt could easily just, send their navy up, which is like stationed around here-ish. They could send them, here, fuel up here, probably like, fuel up around here, so, and then they could, just invade their capital. So they unite with the Absolute Kingdom. At this point, they're becoming the Turks too, and a lot of people are worried. The Caucasians and Anatolians, they are both on high alert. The Egyptians are on high alert. The Quadruple Kingdom, they're mostly concerned about how are we gonna get a much landed power from this. So I think I'm gonna end it here. This is technically a cliffhanger, but I think you can guess either if peace is gonna be happening or war. Probably a war down knowing this series, but this was episode number 18 of this series. I hope you all enjoyed it. Let me just make sure our save will work. Let me make sure everything saves. Okay, perfect. With that being said, goodbye.